why we experience it at rates that are 50% higher than white women, because we just think it's all a part of life. And we're saying it's a little bit more serious than that. You can't just get over it. It's not your fault. It is not your fault. And we need to start talking about this and being a little bit more comfortable with this. So I'm going to bring Avel on. She needs no introduction. Oh, need any introduction? Oh, y'all got to stand up and give the sister some praise here. Give the sister what she's doing. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You all look absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And no, I don't have it all together, but I'm getting it together. You shared a kind word. You shared constructive criticism. I put the emphasis on constructive. And or called and did not accept fine as a response when you asked how I was doing. You know how we can say fine. You probed, you really wanted to know, and you asked for more information. And what I know for sure is that my story is your story, because you've told me so. And what I've said to myself for a little while now, since my 60th birthday, and I'll be 62 next month, is that the time will come when I have the courage and feel free to tell my own story. And so this is a story of living with and triumphing over low self-esteem, chronic depression. And the rest of the story you'll be able to read in the book. But this is about letting my light shine. And I thank God for placing the amazing and brilliant Sister Renee in my life. We're on a mission to bring healing first to ourselves and then to our community. This is our work together, our mission and ministry of love and loving ourselves, all of you, and healing. Let me share a little about my experience with chronic depression, which is a brain disorder caused by a biological imbalance of brain chemicals. My experience includes panic attacks, social anxiety, and probably attention deficit disorder, which I am coming to better understand. Depression is the one that's been diagnosed. I have not spent enough time in therapy to find out how to manage the other symptoms or illnesses. This is the healing work in front of me. I know that the social anxiety has been the cause of my overwhelming fear at times of being in social situations. There are many events, some professional, parties, dances, luncheons, many gatherings that I have avoided over the years because of this crippling and irrational fear of being in social situations. Sometimes at an event, someone will say, "Glad to see you here, glad to see you." And I'll be thinking that I'm glad to be here too, thinking about other opportunities I have missed, and then wonder if the statement is a veiled criticism about not showing up at other events. See how irrational this can all be? The fear has been about being judged, not being good enough. The fear is rooted in internalized racism. The fear is about talking that my words are not good enough and not being understood. And it's rooted in low self-esteem, internalized messages heard in childhood, outside the home, not in my home, outside the home. About physical appearance, not being smart and being unworthy. Like I said, it is internalized and irrational fear, not adequately dealt with, that has caused me to sometimes isolate, to be unable to enjoy my life fully. But now I'm taking control of my life. My bouts of depression may have started as early as 10 or 11, after grandmother Leslie died. She was a major influence in my life, and what I know now is that I felt abandoned by her death. The blues would visit periodically, and I was in so much unvoiced pain that I tried committing suicide by taking an overdose of aspirin when I was a teenager. I've always in my mind struggled to express myself verbally, and to this day, I can experience great anxiety and panic attacks before and during speaking engagements to the point of sweating profusely, heart racing, butterfly stomach, and feeling like I'm going to pass out. Or there have been times when I have canceled a commitment out of fear of falling on my face or just tired because of being depressed. There have been times when I just have not been able to perform because I have been so crippled with anxiety. I have turned down opportunities because I was afraid that I would have an anxiety attack and embarrass myself. And that still happens sometimes. And I remember, I'll share a little story here. I can remember giving a keynote speech at an event a few years ago, aware that I was experiencing some depression at the time. And afterwards, one of the organizers came up to me and said, with disappointment, "Well, all the right words were there, but you were too tired to deliver them." Those words, which I heard as judgment and not being good enough, cut like a knife and added to my depression. And the fact that the words came from a sister cut even deeper. Years ago, in my 30s, when I would experience a period of deep depression, including thoughts of suicide, sometimes I would call a suicide hotline. And this was before there was caller ID. And I would share my pain with a stranger. I would give a false name and then talk through the tears. And that was before I started taking medication for depression. Medication works, it helps.
Yes, it does.
It allows you to be present, to live your life. And over the years, I sought counseling through my health provider, Kaiser. But the therapists were white and female and couldn't relate to the Black experience. One year, Mount St. Helens blew her top, and so did I. Actually, I fell apart. I could not function. It was depression. And I was in a failing second marriage. There was verbal and emotional abuse taking its toll. I was depressed, having thoughts of suicide, considered jumping off an overpass onto the freeway near my home, and wound up in Providence Hospital for 2 weeks on the psych ward. All the treatment professionals were white. I could not and did not tell my job the truth about what was happening to me. I didn't tell my family. They tried the best way they knew how to find out how I was doing and what was going on. And is everything all right? My mom and dad would say, and my sister would ask. I was embarrassed and ashamed. I didn't tell my friends, my sister friends. Family just knew I was in the hospital. Mom tried to reach me. And I believe now that my mother, who passed in the 80s, endured her own bouts of depression. It was something we never talked about. But that's another part of my story to be explored later. I got fired from my job. I was working at the Urban League at the time for making some bad decisions because I could not function. I saw another white male therapist I left that unhealthy marriage. I picked myself up and I started over. And over the years, well, every time I passed by Providence Hospital or heard a reference to that institution, I was reminded of my stay there. And I would have the thought that one day I would tell my story. And sometimes when I go near that freeway overpass, my thoughts return to how the pain made me walk out there and want to jump off. But God and His angels pulled me back. I know that God and His angels pulled me back. And I didn't want to hurt my son, and I didn't want to hurt my family. I know now that I have a brain disorder that causes depression. Some of you have depression. I take medication, and I have for many years, and it really helps. The depression, along with the panic attacks and social anxiety, come through from time to time. And some of it has to do with my own thinking habits and behavior, and I know that I need more professional help to deal with that. That's going to be a part of my work for the rest of my life, some talk therapy. I love myself enough to do that. I also know that exercise also helps a great deal with depression. The weight gain that I have experienced over the years has doubled my dress size. I remember when I was size 8, and so do some of you. Because you let me know you remember too. And it has, the weight gain has also caused sleep apnea and increased blood pressure. I'm working to get control of my weight, more exercise, and I thank my dear niece, Michelle Birch of Woodard, who sat both my sister and I down not too long ago to say how much she loves us and how she wants us to take better care of ourselves. And we're going to do that. I'm going to do that. My blood pressure is fine right now. I know about the empty feeling. I know it from coming home from days filled up with work and then dealing with being alone and lonely and filling that space with food, not wanting to bother anybody with my pain or giving voice to it here and there, and then feeling like, oh no, now they know my weakness and it'll become a source of gossip. You know the cycle. And I want you to know I'll leave a room if gossip is going on, or I will not come around at all. And I dislike the behavior in myself when I do not call myself or others on it, because gossip kills. It kills the spirit and it kills us. Well, and I'm moving to a close now, as the pastor would say. Now is the time to write a new chapter in my life. I'm going to let my light shine. This little light of mine. That's right. And can only do that by claiming and taking charge of my life. And that means telling the truth about who I am and what has shaped me. And along the way to doing that, it is my desire to continue to be of service to others. I have felt a strong desire and urgency for the past few years to pass on all that I know and have learned about public service and servant leadership to the generation coming behind me, behind us. And that's why I decided to leave the legislature, to pass it on. And I'm able to do that now at Portland State University in the Department of Black Studies. I have long been inspired by the life of Barbara Jordan, who served in the Congress during the 70s and the Watergate years. She left public service to go back to teach in Texas. I believe it was Texas Southern. So I guess you could say that I'm following the path of one of my heroes. Reading Terry Williams' book, Black Pain. Do you know the book, Black Pain? Yeah. Pick it up. I believe that Gloria may have it at the bookstore, Reflections, and the library. Miss Patricia Welch is putting her hand up here. Black Pain. campaign is at the library. Terry Williams reveals her story and struggle with depression, and her work is so wonderful because her story is accessible, the language is accessible, and it was a breakthrough experience for me over this past year of reading. The book is wonderful, empowering, and liberating. So reading Terry is helping me in my own healing and helping me find the voice that I'm sharing with you in this moment. Hearing Nell Irvin Painter recently, the educator, historian, and artist, speak during a C-SPAN book interview has also helped me in my own healing. Nell says that every black person in America needs their own therapist, just to deal with the effects of living in a racist, white supremacist society. Now that's the truth. And so I come to a conclusion to say thank you 1,000 times. I see your faces. Thank you for coming out, for hearing me, for taking this message, my message, into your heart.